Thank you. I will start this presentation then now. It's a great honor to be invited to the PKI India conference and to be allowed to present basically a perspective on the intersection of cybersecurity in a digital public infrastructure context and AI ethics. My name is Gilles Fayad. I basically spent my whole career developing new products and services in emerging technologies, mostly in Fortune 100 US companies. And my experience spans multiple of these technologies, but I have been involved in cybersecurity, both at the level of hardware, cryptography, acceleration at the time where it was very much needed, and also at the level of the strategic planning for the Texas Instrument and Shield security element and architecture for its mobile processors, OMA family of mobile processors. I know Texas Instruments has a strong team in Bangalore, so I don't know if some of you might relate to that, but basically it was an extension of Trust Zone with hardware augmentation. That was quite interesting in the time. And I am now basically heading the IEEE certified AI ethics program, advising the team on the product and the positioning for the product. So it's a great pleasure to be here. And without further ado notice, let's start, if you don't mind. So just as a reflection about AI ethics, digital public infrastructure, and cybersecurity, because they seem a bit separate, I propose the following approach. From a digital public infrastructure, the risks that we are facing are mostly the disruption of the systems through digital transformation, and the growth of the cybersecurity incidents, as well as international tension aspects that come and fuel that. And this is very important for the sovereignty, because the sovereignty is the representation both of a state legitimacy and of its strategic autonomy. So if we look at the diagram on the right, what we really look at is multipolar, if I can use that word, multipolar status, where on one hand you have AI and cyber, into which you have a lot of collaboration, because there are state and non-state actors that are impacting AI and cyber. So AI is being used positively in cyber environment, for example, for CERT, where you need to be able to identify anomalies in a very big set of events and zero in very quickly on it. You have the relationship between cyber and ethics as well, in the sense that there is obviously a lot of our lives are now in cyberspace, and there is a sovereignty gap in what is allowed, or what is allowed essentially, because it's not enforced sometimes in cyberspace versus what is allowed in real life. And we are driven by human values, which are represented through ethics in real life. And as well, there is this same correspondence between AI and ethics, in the sense that AI replaces or augments human mankind in some aspects of ethics, which are again the values that we try to strive for and with in our daily lives to advance and to achieve a peaceful evolution. And since AI is doing that replacement or augmentation of human decision making, it is very much important to understand the relationship between AI and ethics, and making sure that AI is ethical. So one way to think about it is that cyber needs AI needs ethics, and basically by transition, cyber would need ethics as well. So that's another way of looking at it. Now, if we think about the type of cybersecurity risks that we see that are of ethical nature, we can see that preserving privacy is a very top concern, in the sense that not only from a GDPR perspective, which is basically the making sure that whatever data that is retained is lawful, but also from a perception of the risks associated with monitoring, intrusive monitoring, as well as potential consequences in terms of social scoring, for example, that can impact human rights and autonomy erosion. And you'll see that this is, in some environments, this is completely forbidden. In some other environments, this is pretty much mainstream. Maintaining accountability is another important ethical challenge in cybersecurity risk management, because humankind has a tendency to offload difficult decisions to others, and machines are a convenient scapegoat, in the sense that you can always blame it on the system for not having taken the right decision, or for the consequences of it. So it is important to maintain accountability. If we maintain that decision, if we transfer that decision making from an AI to a human person, from a human person to an AI, we need to maintain that accountability. It's also very important to achieve transparency, because a lot of these AIs, like deep learning solutions, are pretty much considered like black box because of their complexity. They are hard to understand. And the ability to have explainability in deep learning is very important, because otherwise you cannot enforce lawful decisions if you cannot explain why you have reached these decisions. Also, it is, as you know, with generative AI and with deepfakes, it is very important now to be able to identify and trace these deepfakes, so that we know which are real and which are fake, and where they come from, as these can have a deep social impact on basically a sovereign state. And last but not least, avoiding algorithmic bias is very important, because, again, from a cyber perspective, what you want to do is make sure that the system is operational and available. If the system is not able to recognize a person, for example, because of the color of their skin, and is not able to operate it or to offer services to that person, it amounts to the equivalent of a cybersecurity failure at this point. So all of these points I'm just trying to share with you, just to build this relationship between AI, cyber, and ethics. One way to look at it is that AI and ethics constitute what we refer to as trustworthy AI mostly. We could extend that definition to cyber in terms of digital trust. And digital trust is something that is very important today, both at the state level and at the individual level, at the market level, as we're going to see. So if we take the EU AI Act, for example, you can see that some aspects like social scoring or facial recognition are not, or AI manipulation in the form of, for example, targeted advertising for political campaigns, are considered unacceptable risks. Now, high risks are things that impact basically either transportation system or safety, environments, etc. And you can see the importance of cybersecurity in these environments to also secure achieve the same goal. Other risk level, like limited risk level or minimal risk level, touch upon use cases where there might be some transparency issues in the case of limited risks, or minimal risk where it might be inconsequential in the sense that it might give you the wrong answer, but you will know that it is the wrong answer, and it will not have detrimental consequence out of it. The reason why I mentioned the EU AI Act is not only because it's one of the biggest, the most advanced frameworks today, but also because the when we build solutions, and I know Bangalore is a big center for producing solutions and products, we need to make sure that there is a market accessibility for these products. And as regulation starts to kick in into the different parts of the globe, we need to be very much aware of these regulations and how our products need to be built and evaluated in order to meet these regulations so that our products can reach these markets. So if we look at it from a regulatory perspective, you have multiple countries in the world, pretty much all of the countries in the world today have an AI policy, and there are a bit of differences between these policies, but mostly it's a mix of risk-based approach, like in the EU case with the principle of precaution, which basically says essentially that you should not put something on the market unless you have verified that it is safe, as well as impact policies, which are, for example, like in Canada, where I live, more about, okay, if we put this thing out, what will be the impact really on the population, on the services, etc. So different countries have adopted different approaches, and it would be too long to go over all of this. But the important things to retain here is that it's interesting to see. First, if you look at the US, for example, and India, to the best of my knowledge, they don't have regulatory and enforcement mechanism. In the case of the US, it might be by design because of the corporate culture there. But I don't know for India if it is in the works or not. I have not been able to find specifics for India. If we look at the other side, where it is being enforced, like in the EU and in China, the enforcement is different and very much different in the sense that what is very often allowed in China is considered forbidden in Europe. And at the same time, China has adopted a very early strategy regarding deepfakes and regarding algorithmic security aspects. So I think it's an interesting approach to look at as well, to understand how these aspects that are becoming more and more important with the use of generative AI are being implemented today. Now, in the case of India, it was one of the early comers to AI policies. It's a founding member of the GPAI, the Global Partnership Alliance on AI. It has very interesting policies in the sense that it's an AI for all from the onset, and it is meaning that all the citizens should be able to benefit from AI. And so AI is focused on health and education, etc., which we see a lot of in Asia. And also it has this AI garage culture by which India is capable of offering its services, its development services to the other countries in the world. The approaches are different in the EU, in the US, or in China, but overall, India has an approach. I think what is important to see is where it is, how does it compare worldwide. So if we look at what India does, it's from an AI, trustworthy AI perspective, we can see that basically it touches upon all of the important aspects of what is needed in an AI policy. Defense seems to be the only one that it doesn't touch upon, but not many countries do. The UK, France, and the US. And again, the other countries might be doing it without mentioning it. But otherwise, India is present in all of the different dimensions that are needed there. As well, if we look at the AI talent, we can see that India is faring very well. It's the line in red here. So it has all of the potential to develop AI and to develop trustworthy AI. And ethics is part of the NITI recommendation paper that was put back, I think, in 2019 there. Now, India is not the only one. This is a short list of countries. Indonesia as well and Malaysia are also in the high-ranking countries in terms of AI. Now, this is from a regulatory perspective. Now, let's look at it from a market perspective. What is interesting on the market side, I think, is the fact that digital trust, AI incidents have grown significantly. So first there is this growth from basically around, if we look at, let's say 2018, 2019, we were around 100 incidents. And now we are, in 2021, last recorded, we are around 260 incidents. So this is out of an incident database. But there are other two interesting trends. The first one is the difference between the customer perception of the protection of their data and the actual situation within service providers. So 70% of consumers consider that their data is protected, and in reality, it is more about 60% of the companies that are able to report data breach. So you can see the contrast there. People are not aware of the data breach. The other trend that is interesting is that a lot of the incidents, the AI incidents that are being reported, are moving from data related aspects to ethical accountability, fairness, environmental sustainability aspects. So what this means is essentially that people are still considering data breach as being important, but they are considering these other aspects as being as important. And this is becoming more and more obvious if we look at how customers start to value ethics as much as data security. So for example, data privacy policies worldwide is something that consumers would want to know from a company usually like 85% of the people like that. Now what we see is that AI policies of these companies are starting to come at par with that. What we see is that in Asia specifically, the impact of AI aspect and data practices are becoming more relevant. But what is, I think, the most staggering is if you look at the part that I highlighted in the red square on the right, we have now people that are more concerned about the ethical principles of the solutions that they are using than the data breach. And I think this is an eye-opener in the sense that we need to make sure that from a cyber perspective, we take into consideration all of the ethical aspects. Because whether we want it or not, through regulatory or through market demand, it is becoming more and more prevalent. So IEEE in that context has been very well positioned because since 2015, 2016, IEEE has coined and has basically initiated a vision of social technical standards. And what this means is that essentially it is focusing on the social impact of technical standards and how to integrate the social aspects into the technical standards so that the outcomes are practically usable from a social perspective and socially friendly. So in ethical AI systems, in data governance, in digital intelligence, in many different aspects, there are a lot of activities within IEEE that have been developed. Child online rights is one that has been very successful as well, in the sense that it's been adopted in many different countries in the world, very much as is and very quickly. And as a recognition of the impact of social media on children. Part of that has basically resulted in something called the Ethically Aligned Design Conceptual Framework, which is a framework that is described here that allows you to go from principles to practice in the implementation of design that is ethically aligned, that has ethical values integrated into it. And so this has produced a lot of standards and recommendations and specifications and papers. Two of the most important are the 7000 series, which allow you to integrate AI ethical value in AI system at the design and development stage when you develop a solution. And the IEEE certified conformity assessment framework, which is a framework that allows you to take any product, whether it has been developed with ethics in mind or not, and evaluate it not only from a process perspective, but mostly from an organization and outcome perspective, evaluate basically the ethicality of the product. So the ethically aligned design framework has produced a lot of documents and material, a lot of which is available pretty much accessible because IEEE recognizes the need for accessibility and the need for awareness, and it's structured in terms of a trustworthy AI portfolio. So you can see a lot of the 7000 series documents are available there should you want to look into integrating ethics in design, and a lot and all the ontological specs that relate to the to AI ethics assessment of products are also available, and many other papers are available there. I'm sorry, it's a bit early for me. I'm in North America, so I haven't finished my first coffee, so sorry for all this stumbling in my words, but I hope you can get the gist of it. So all of that trustworthy AI portfolio has been structured into, because it's a lot of documents, into what we call an AI literacy framework, an AIE framework, which basically has pretty much three levels: awareness, which is introductory level, where you get to know what it means, because a lot of in a lot of situations people don't understand what ethics are, or there might be city managers, for example, who are very good at what they do, but don't know how to integrate AI into their environment. So they need awareness into procurement, they need awareness into governance, they need awareness at different levels, and this is what the awareness suite is about. The intelligence one is more about delving deeper into the concept and understanding how things get done. So if the awareness is about the what, the intelligence is about the how. And the expertise is really where you get expert training and possibly even expertise recognition um, uh, for the expertise that you have developed in AI ethics and that you can apply across the world. Now, on top of that, there is a plus sign there. The plus is for everything that we do on top of that in terms of custom workshops and trainings. That is mostly targeted at either specific organizations or government organizations, for that matter, that are interested in the deployment of AI ethics into their environment. If we look at the assessment, the outcome-based assessment framework of Certified, just to give you an example, it is a set of criteria. These criteria are around ethical privacy, transparency, algorithmic bias, and accountability, not in the order that I've mentioned them. And basically, these criteria are used together with a methodology to assess your product, and if the product is considered ethical out of it, then a mark is being delivered that recognizes that. So how does the methodology work? It's a four-step process. You go through an inquiry phase, simple, where you have to scope what is the product that you're trying to assess, how much would it cost, and how much time would it take to basically assess this product. Once this is identified, then we can go to the next stage, the profiling, is where we identify basically what are the ethical criteria that are the most relevant for the product in the context and with the stakeholders that are being involved, and what is the impact level from an ethical standpoint, what are the ethical impact levels of these criteria. Based on that, an assessment is being done using the criteria that have been provided, and this assessment pretty much is being done between the company and an assessor. It is not something that is public. It is something that is internal to the company, confidential, and that basically allows the company also to improve their product and their processes around the product to achieve better ethicality. And if that is considered of a good level, then at that point, the company can decide to go for certification, which is an independent verification of that assessment. And that certification would deliver a certified AI ethics mark. At that point, the product is publicly recognized as having been certified according to the IEEE conformity assessment program. It is listed on the set of products that have been considered ethically certified. And what does that mean? It really means mostly three things. It affirms the organization's commitment to basically upholding human values. So it shows to consumers that you care about ethicality. It also shows that you have done your best effort in terms of assessing that a product is ethical, it's transparent, is accountable, is not biased, and preserves privacy. So all of that helps enhance confidence in the companies and in the products that are being put out, and can make a difference, as we see now that consumers are being really concerned about ethicality. It can make a difference for product differentiation perspective. So this is IEEE certified in a nutshell as a conformity assessment program. The interesting aspect of it is that it also creates new jobs in a sense, in the form of assessors and the certified ecosystem. So the assessors pretty much perform assessment and certification, and trainers provide the training for all of these assessment and certification. So in a nutshell, this is what it is. The whole program is being managed by IEEE under the conformity assessment program of IEEE ICAP. And that means that it manages all of the products and authorized collaborators and marks. From that perspective, what is important to realize is that it can go from principles to standards to market acknowledgement, and to an ecosystem that is built around that to serve that market acknowledgement. So what this means is that going beyond standard in terms of having a natural tool that can be used in the field to provide a service and building the ecosystem for it to provide that service. I'm reaching here the end of the presentation. I think the key takeaways from this, if we look at it in retrospect and we take a step back, essentially, trustworthy systems is intricately linked to cybersecurity, both in the sense that cybersecurity needs to prove that it is trustworthy, and to be trustworthy, you need cybersecurity. So it is really interlinked. And having the ability to address trustworthy AI in system implementation is becoming more and more important and should not be neglected in cybersecurity developments. Also, what we see in the market and in worldwide is that the entities are interested in moving towards achieving some level of AI ethicality. And this affects reach both through regulation and through market preferences, consumer preferences. And IEEE is here with tools that are available. Some of them available for free, like the ones in the GAP program that I mentioned in the AI Trustworthy portfolio. and they are available for you to use. The trainings are available should you want to become authorized assessors and provide such services. And should you have products to assess, this is also something that we can facilitate with our ecosystem of experts. Thank you very much. Sorry, I mispronounced it. But I want to do is to say thank you.